The alarm on my wrist buzzed hard enough to sting my skin, and I was awake before my eyes even opened. My name is Kale, and I lead a small security team on the human colony called Bellhaven Reach. That night, the alert did not show one heat signature near the equipment shed on Farmer Aldrich's land. It showed two, both large, both radiating the same strange energy that only one kind of creature in this galaxy gives off. Threntai. I felt my stomach drop. Threntai are strong, fast, and dangerous, and they do not wander onto human land by accident. If two of them had broken past our sensors in the middle of the night, someone could be in serious trouble before the sun came up. I grabbed my gear and called my team. 4 of us moved fast through the dark fields, boots crunching over frost, breath rising like smoke. Nobody spoke. We all knew what a Threntai breach could mean. My second in command, a sharp young woman named Priya, kept pace beside me, her weapon ready, her eyes scanning every shadow. The shed came into view at the edge of the property, a plain metal building where Aldrich kept his harvesting drones and spare parts. Nothing valuable enough to fight over, nothing that should have drawn any attention at all. But the door was jammed shut from the inside. Not broken, not forced open. Jammed, like someone had wedged a tool through the handle to keep it closed, the way you would barricade yourself against a storm. Priya pried it loose with the edge of her blade, and the smell that rolled out hit us immediately. Sweat, fear, the sharp, bitter scent that Threntai release when they are afraid. My hand tightened on my weapon as the door swung open. What we found inside was not what I expected. 2 groups of Threntai, 6 on one side and 5 on the other, were crouched in opposite corners of that small metal shed. Every claw was out, every muscle was tense, but not one of them was looking at us. They were all staring past me, toward the door, like we were the least frightening thing that had happened to them that night. I raised my weapon slightly and spoke in the common trade language. "Report. What happened here?" An older Threntai on the left side answered first. His voice was rough, like he had been shouting for hours and had nothing left. "We were not fighting each other," he said. "Then who were you fighting?" I asked. A younger one on the right side spoke next, and his voice actually shook. "The animal," he said. "The small one that guards this land." I lowered my weapon an inch, confused. Aldrich only kept one guard animal on his property, an old dog named Maple. She was gentle, slow, and nearly 14 years old. She spent most of her days sleeping in a patch of sunlight near the porch. She had never chased anything faster than a falling leaf. "Explain," I said. The story came out in pieces, both sides talking over each other, neither one willing to let the other finish first. These 2 groups had crossed paths on human land that night, each one scouting the area for reasons of their own. They had old history between them, the kind of long-standing rivalry that usually ends badly. According to both sides, they were seconds away from a serious confrontation when something unexpected happened. Maple woke up. She did not bark a warning first. She did not run away from the danger. She simply stood up from her spot on the porch, walked straight into the middle of 2 powerful alien warriors, and began growling like they were misbehaving children caught in her garden. And then, according to 11 battle-hardened fighters from 2 rival groups, she chased them. Both sides, together, across the yard and straight into the shed. Once they were inside, she sat down in front of the door and refused to let either group leave. "She is guarding it," the older one said, and there was real fear in his voice. "Every time we try to leave, she makes the sound." "The sound," I repeated. He demonstrated. It was a low, ordinary growl, the kind any dog might make at a stranger walking too close to the house. I felt a laugh building in my chest, and I did not fight it. Priya had to step outside the shed entirely to keep from laughing out loud. Here is what I did not say to them, because some things are better learned than explained. Maple was not guarding that shed because she understood the danger those 2 groups represented. She had no idea what a Threntai was, and she certainly did not know about the years of conflict between them. To her, they were simply large, unfamiliar animals making noise in her yard in the middle of the night, and that was not something she was willing to accept, arthritis or not. 14 years old, half blind, and still completely unwilling to back down from her own porch. Two rival groups who had been ready to clash only minutes earlier had instead spent the whole night hiding together from an old, tired dog. It took her, and only her, to make them stop and think about the choices that had brought them there. I walked to the door myself and knelt down next to Maple, giving her a gentle scratch behind the ears. She leaned into my hand, tail thumping softly against the ground, completely unaware of the tension she had just diffused. I promised her a proper treat when we got back, and she seemed satisfied with that arrangement. She was never trying to start a war. She was simply doing her job, the only way she knew how. I opened the shed door fully and stepped back. The Threntai filed out slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements near Maple, glancing at her the way soldiers might glance at an unpredictable commanding officer. They left in opposite directions before the sun came up, without a single blow exchanged between them. I do not know if the peace between those two groups will last. Old conflicts like theirs rarely end because of one strange night. But I wrote my report anyway, and Priya insisted I include a very specific line at the end of it. Local guard animals should not be overlooked in future threat assessments. Recommend a full review of current classification standards. 3 days later, Aldrich found a large, carefully wrapped package sitting on his porch, left by an unknown visitor sometime in the early morning. Inside was a portion of expertly prepared meat, clearly meant as a gift. No note was attached, no explanation was given. Maple ate it in under 5 minutes, and then returned to her favorite spot in the sun, completely unbothered by the fact that she had just accomplished something that years of careful diplomacy between rival groups had never managed to achieve. That is the kind of place Bellhaven Reach turned out to be. That is the kind of surprises that come with living alongside humans, and the creatures they choose to keep close. You would think that after all the time my people have spent studying humans, watching their strange customs, and their strange loyalty, we would stop being surprised. We never do. Sometimes the biggest lesson does not come from a soldier, or a leader, or a weapon at all. Sometimes it comes from something small, something tired, something that has spent 14 years guarding a porch and has absolutely no intention of stopping now.